All right, so today we're going to do triangle inequalities. And part of this, if you were here at Northland at least, you did in either 7th or 8th grade. Now, whether you remember that or not, you've slept since then, so maybe not. So we'll start over. So in this triangle, if this is drawn to scale, which side appears to be the largest? RT. That's pretty obvious, right? Which angle appears to be the large? I'm sorry, I asked the wrong question here. This is RT.
I put the wrong paper.
Yeah.
Sorry, hang on a second. Let me see. Oh, I opened up the wrong file. My fault. Geometry. Triangles. Well, it says it's that one. Give me just a second to see if I can find that one. Because I think that has all the same stuff on it, just in a different order. Oh, here it is. That's weird. I have two different things labeled notes on triangle inequalities.
Like 2.0 or something.
How about that?
Yeah.
All right. I apologize. So, let's start over. Take 2. Thank you for your patience. So you can't make a triangle from just any 3 side lengths you want. Okay? We could spend a long time doing an activity on this where I gave you, like 3 little sticks or something. No, we're not going to do it, but we could. I used to do one where we would take pieces of spaghetti and do this, but it was really hard to try and get people to make the spaghetti the right length. Right? But think of it that way. So if you have, for example, let's say you have one piece of spaghetti that was 10 inches long. So pretty much the full length of a piece of spaghetti. And then 2 smaller ones, one that was 3 and one that was 5. Can you stick those end to end in any way that's going to make a triangle? How come?
Because they don't match up.
Yeah, they're never going to reach each other, are they? And that's what I've showed in this diagram down here. If you connect the 3 over here on the left and the 5 over here on the right, no matter how you move those, if they're connected there, they're never going to be able to reach each other, are they? So that doesn't make a triangle. Okay, let me ask you a different question. Don't worry about copying this down, but please watch it for just a second. So let's say you are here at home. This is the one I use with my 7th graders. And the store is here. And the playground is over here. So this is like a map. What is the quickest way to get to the store in terms of a path?
Straight line.
Yeah. So that is going to be shorter than going to the playground and then going to the store, right? So that is the triangle inequality. You already understand the triangle inequality, that this distance is going to be less than these 2 added together. That's the triangle inequality. And it doesn't matter where you were trying to go. If you were trying to go to the playground, is the fastest way to go to the store first? No. The distance from home to the playground is going to be shorter than home to the store and then from the store to the playground. Okay, that's called the triangle inequality, which says that the sum of the 2 short sides of a triangle must be greater than the longest side. So let's see if we can make a triangle from these sides. If I've got 3, 7, and 9, all you have to do is take the 2 short ones, 3 and 7, add them together, and compare them, so I'm going to put a question mark, to 9. Well, 3 plus 7 is 10, thank you. Is that greater than or less than 9? It's greater than. Is that the way we want it to work? Yes. So yes, we can make a triangle from those. They're not always in order from smallest to largest. You have to pick out the two smaller ones. So if I do 8 plus 5 and compare that to 16, well, 13 is less than 16. So that's no. How about this next one? Yeah, 6 plus 6 is that, and maybe you can just write this. Is 6 plus 6 greater than 10? Yes. And how about this last one? Is 5 plus 7 greater than 12? No. It's equal. If you were trying to make this out of the spaghetti, it would look something like this. The 12 would be down here. And the only way that you could make them all attach, if you attach the 5 like right over here, and the 7 right there, is that a triangle? Yeah, not so much. Okay, they all have to lay on top of each other to fit. All right, page 2. So here we're given the length of two sides of the triangle. We want to find the range of possible lengths of the third side. So there are two possibilities. One is that the third side is one of the two short sides. The second possibility is that the third side is in fact the longest side. So if the third side is one of the short sides, what's the other short side? 5. So I would say S plus 5 needs to be greater than 7. The two short sides add together have to be greater than the longest side. So subtracting that means S has got to be bigger than 2. So the shortest it can be has to be bigger than 2. Well, what if it was the long side? If it's the long side, the two short sides are 7 and 5, right? So 7 plus 5 has got to be greater than, I'm going to use a capital L because if I use a lowercase l, it looks like a 1. So the long side has to be less than 12, or 12 has to be greater than L. So it has to be, let's do it this way. Let's just write it as an inequality. 2 is less than x is less than 12. By the way, just to point something out, when we say something is greater than 2, does that mean it has to start at 3?
No.
Where could it start?
2.1.
2.1? What about 2.01? Yeah, anything even slightly bigger than 2 will work. Now, if you actually make a triangle out of that, you're going to have a really skinny triangle. Okay? Let's do the same thing for this one. So if it's the short side, what's the other short side? 11. So short side plus 11 has to be more than 15. So the smallest it could be would be bigger than 4. If it's the long side, 15 plus 11's got to be bigger than the longest side. So the longest side has to be less than 26. So it's between 4 and 26. Okay, any questions about that? Well, let's look at this one. This one feels a little bit different because those two sides are the same. And you're like, well, wait a minute. How am I going to do short side, long side? You kind of, squint real hard and go, okay, this feels weird, but I'm going to do it anyway. So the short side plus, what's the other short side? The answer is it doesn't matter. Either of them has to be greater than the big side. Well, the big side would be the other 12. Feels weird, right? So subtracting, S has just got to be bigger than 0. And if it's the long side, the two short sides will be the two 12s. So 12 plus 12 has to be bigger than the long side. So this has to be somewhere between 0 and 24. And before we go on to the page 3, just real quick, let me just show you. Again, you don't need to copy this, but please watch. Can you imagine a triangle where both of those were 12, but this side on the bottom was really small? Pardon? So both of these were 12 and this was something tiny? Or what if you had an isosceles triangle where that's 12 and that's 12, and that's a really big obtuse angle? Do you see how that's going to get closer and closer to 24 the more you spread that out? Okay? All right. Page 3. Now we're going to do longest and shortest. So in this diagram, which side appears to be the longest? QR. I don't think there's really any debate about that. Which angle appears to be the largest? Angle S. Because it looks like what kind of an angle? Obtuse. Okay? So this is the longest side. This is the largest angle. Where are they in relationship to one another in the triangle? Yeah, someone said it. Opposite, yes. We call these opposite because they're across the triangle from each other. It's just like when you sit in the cafeteria at lunch, if there's someone on the other side of the table that you're looking at, they are your opposite. They're sitting across the table from you. Okay? So they are opposite each other. All right. Which side is the shortest side? Yeah, this is the shortest side pretty clearly. And I think this is the hardest part to see on this one. Which one is smaller, angle Q or angle R? Q is the smaller angle. Notice they are opposite each other also. So they are opposite each other. So the longest side is opposite the largest angle, and the shortest side is across from the smallest angle. And occasionally I have someone who says, does that mean the mediumist side is across from the mediumist angle? And I'm like, well, yeah, although mediumist is not a word. All right. That is, and again, didn't prove it, but I think you're convinced. In a triangle, notice it says in a triangle. This can only be used in one triangle at a time. We'll do some like this later, but if you have a diagram that has two triangles stuck together, you have to do one and then do the other. You can't do it all at once. It will not work. The longest side is opposite the largest angle, and the shortest side is opposite the smallest angle. So let's put these letters in order from least to greatest. So ones like this where they give you the sides, pretty straightforward. Which side is the shortest? 11. So opposite that would be B. So B is the smallest angle. What's the next bigger side? 17. So the next bigger angle would be angle C. And then the biggest side is 19. So the biggest angle will be A. Real quick aside here. Does that mean that A is 19? No. A can't be 19 degrees because it's got to be the biggest angle in the triangle. Okay? Second thing to point out here is these aren't drawn to scale, and that's on purpose. Because I don't want you just looking at the diagram going, well, yeah, that's the longest side. Gee, Mr. Davis, that's a stupid question. Right? They're not going to be drawn to scale. All right, how about this one? Do we know which angle is the biggest angle in this?
Yes.
Yes.
Really? Do we know all three angles?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you got to find the last angle before you start answering questions about the biggest side and the shortest side. Now, a lot of you have already done this in your head, which is good. This is 120. 180 minus 120 leaves me that this angle is 60. So again, this is from least to greatest, so I'm going to start with the smallest angle. The smallest angle is angle B, or excuse me, is 50, so the shortest side is B. The next bigger is 60, so A is next. And then across from the biggest angle is the longest side, and that's C. Any questions about that? All right. Then your assignment tonight is in the book, but not due until Tuesday,
Oh, yes.
because remember you have Monday off.
Is Halloween on Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.